Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went in there, or found yourself mid-conversation, only to realize you have no idea what you were about to say next? It's strange, isn't it? Everything around you is normal. You're not under pressure, not distracted by anything obvious, and yet your brain seems to just freeze. You might laugh it off, blame it on age, stress, or lack of sleep, but deep down, a quiet question lingers. Is something wrong with me? You're not alone. These strange mental hiccups are far more common than you think, and no, they don't always mean your memory is failing. In fact, they're often signs that your brain is working exactly as it should, just in ways you might not fully understand yet. In today's video, we're diving into 5 moments when your brain hits the brakes, even though your world keeps moving, from forgetting your train of thought in the middle of a sentence to feeling oddly disconnected during familiar routines. We'll explore what's happening behind the scenes in your brain. And here's the good news. These aren't signs that you're broken. They're reminders that your brain is an incredibly complex, beautiful machine, one that sometimes needs a moment to recalibrate. So if you've ever felt like your mind just blanked out for no reason, stick around. The answers might surprise you, and they just might bring you a little peace of mind. Moment 1. Freezing mid-conversation. When your words vanish into thin air, you're chatting with a friend. The story's flowing, you're mid-sentence, and then nothing. Your brain hits pause. You forget what you were about to say, even though just seconds ago, it felt crystal clear. It's awkward. You might laugh it off, blame a senior moment, or say, "It'll come back to me." But what really just happened, this moment, is actually a classic example of retrieval failure. Your brain knows the information, it's in there somewhere, but you can't quite pull it out on demand. Think of it like trying to grab a specific tab in a browser with 30 others open. The more you're juggling emotions, distractions, background noise, the easier it is to momentarily lose access. Cognitive scientists explain that your working memory, the mental desk where you hold thoughts while speaking, can get overwhelmed. And when it does, even simple words can slip through the cracks. Stress, fatigue, and multitasking only make this worse. And ironically, the harder you try to remember what you were saying, the more your brain locks up. That's because pressure triggers your brain's freeze response, not unlike when you're caught off guard or mildly anxious. The good news, this isn't a sign of brain damage or cognitive decline. It's actually normal. And in most cases, your original thought does come back often when you stop trying to remember. So next time your brain leaves you hanging mid-sentence, take a breath. It's not failure, it's just your brain hitting the pause button to catch up. Moment 2. Driving home but not remembering the route. When your brain goes on autopilot, you pull into your driveway, turn off the engine, and suddenly realize you have no memory of the drive. Did you stop at that red light? Did you take the usual turn? You got home safely, but your mind feels blank. This eerie moment is more common than you might think, and it's not because you're careless. It's a fascinating phenomenon called automaticity. When we do something repeatedly, like driving the same route every day, the brain begins to treat it as a routine. Instead of actively focusing on every turn and stop, your brain moves the task to the subconscious level. It frees up your conscious attention to wander. Maybe you were planning dinner, replaying a conversation, or daydreaming about the weekend. Your procedural memory, a type of long-term memory, takes the wheel. Literally. It's the same process that lets you type on a keyboard or tie your shoes without thinking. These automated routines are efficient. They reduce mental load and save energy. But here's the trade-off: because your brain isn't recording each step of the drive in detail, you don't store those memories the same way. So afterward, it feels like a blank spot even though you were fully functioning. This isn't dangerous unless you're too distracted. In fact, it's a sign that your brain is adapting to patterns and optimizing effort. So next time you zone out while driving a familiar route, don't panic. Your brain wasn't failing you, it was doing what it's designed to do: simplify, automate, and conserve energy. Just make sure to stay alert, especially when something unexpected pops up. Moment 3. Entering a room and forgetting why when your brain resets the scene. You walk into the kitchen with purpose, then freeze. Wait, why did you come in here? You stand still, scanning the room, hoping the reason will magically return. Sound familiar? This baffling moment is a classic example of something called the event boundary effect in cognitive psychology. Here's what's happening when you move from one environment to another, say. From the living room to the kitchen, your brain treats that transition as a new episode. It draws an invisible line between what happened before and what's happening now, like starting a new scene in a movie. But because your memory is context-dependent, your brain uses the environment around you, sights, sounds, smells as mental anchors. When you cross into a different space, your brain may momentarily unload or reorganize what was in your short-term memory to prepare for a new context. In that brief switch, your original intention, get the keys, check the oven, grab a snack, might slip out of working memory. It's not gone forever, just momentarily inaccessible. What helps? Going back to where you had the thought often jogs your memory. That's because returning to the original scene restores the context your brain used to store the idea. So, no, you're not losing your mind. This isn't early dementia or getting old. It's actually a clever memory system doing its best to stay organized in a fast-moving world. Next time it happens, try smiling instead of stressing. Your brain isn't broken, it just hit reset on the scene a little too early. Moment 4. Not recognizing someone you know, all because of a haircut. You walk into the office, pass by a colleague you see every day, and suddenly hesitate. Who was that? It takes a second or two before it clicks. Oh, that was Sarah. She just changed her hairstyle. Why does a minor change like a new haircut? A missing beard or different glasses throw us off so much. It all comes down to how the brain processes faces. Humans have a specialized region in the brain called the fusiform face area, FFA, designed specifically to recognize and interpret faces. This system is lightning fast, but heavily dependent on patterns. It takes note of consistent features like hairline, facial structure, skin tone, and overall silhouette. When one of those anchor features suddenly changes, your brain's facial recognition software stutters. The new look doesn't immediately match the internal template you've built over time. It's like updating someone's profile picture. Your brain needs a second to sync the new image with the old one. Interestingly, this delay is more likely when you're not expecting change. If you've seen someone daily for years, your brain gets lazy, it stops analyzing every detail and starts working off assumptions. A small shift catches it off guard. This moment isn't a failure of memory, it's a sign your brain is wired for efficiency, not perfection. It prefers quick pattern matching over deep analysis. So if you ever fail to recognize someone you know just because they got bangs or shaved their beard, don't worry. It's not you being rude or forgetful, it's just your brain doing a double take before updating the file. Moment 5. Hearing your own voice and cringing. Do I really sound like that? You hit play on a voice message or video and hear yourself speak. But instead of sounding confident or friendly, the voice seems high-pitched, flat, or even awkwardly unfamiliar. Your first reaction, that's not me. But it is. This unsettling moment when your own recorded voice sounds totally wrong is nearly universal. And no, it's not because you secretly have a terrible voice. It's because you're hearing yourself differently than your brain expects. When you speak out loud, your voice reaches you in two ways. Through the air, like everyone else hears it. Through bone conduction, the vibrations of your vocal cords travel through your skull and jaw. straight to your inner ear. That second root bone conduction adds depth, warmth, and resonance. So the version of your voice you're used to hearing is actually bass boosted by your own body. But when you listen to a recording, you're only hearing the air-conducted version, the raw, external sound. No wonder it sounds thinner or sharper than what you expected. This mismatch causes a cognitive dissonance. Your brain says, "That's not how I sound," because it's comparing reality to your lifelong internal version, a version that's been filtered and enhanced by your own anatomy. This tiny identity crisis isn't dangerous. In fact, it's a great example of how perception isn't always reality. What you believe you sound like and how the world actually hears you are just two sides of the same truth. So next time you hear your voice and feel weird about it, smile. That voice might sound strange to you, but it's the one the world already knows and hopefully loves. So the next time your mind goes blank mid-sentence, or you forget why you walked into a room, take a deep breath and smile. These moments don't mean your brain is broken. In fact, they're subtle reminders of how wonderfully complex, adaptive, and even mysterious your mind truly is. You're not alone in these glitches, we all experience them. And behind each freeze is a brain working hard to keep up with the fast pace of life. Instead of worrying, let these moments spark curiosity. Learn more about how your mind works. Pay attention to the patterns. Slow down when you need to. Rest when your brain asks for it. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. We live in a world that often demands constant focus and flawless memory. But the truth is, being human means being imperfect, unpredictable, and beautifully wired. If this video made you feel a little more normal, a little more understood, share it with someone who might need the same reassurance. And remember, the next time your brain freezes, it might just be pausing to make room for something new.